Hello everyone again in Europa Universalis 5 Dev Diary about military and warfare. Last time we finished on army organization and command, so let's continue. Let's continue the reading. Armies are structured into left flank, center, right flank, and reserves. This will crucially impact where your troops will meet the enemy on the battlefield, playing a pivotal role in how the battle plays out. The speed at which each regiment enters the fight is determined by their initiative. Cavalry and light infantry will usually be quicker to get into the fray than heavy infantry. This is quite obvious, right? And this difference can make a battle, as if one of the flanks collapses, the center becomes vulnerable to a flanking strike, devastating for morale. It makes perfect sense, obviously. I mean, if you ever played even Total Wars, which are again simplified in terms of battles, and this is mostly because of the AI behavior. But the general concept is to hold the center and just flank your enemy. And usually flanks are the most vulnerable points. Um, in fact, in history, in real life, it happened. I mean, there were tactics which allowed for center to be weaker than the flanks. So the center was moving back and the flanks were pushing forward, just encircling the opposition, the enemy at the front. I think that Carthage used something similar at some battles. Of course, not all of them, but I think yeah, in antiquity that was quite popular maneuver. Of course, it's hard to organize because the units in the center has to be have to be the most experienced ones because you have to, well, this is not a retreat, this is not even um falling back, it's more like organized movement backwards, so you let enemy go deeper into your positions. So yeah, you have to have highly organized units and highly experienced ones. So um, yeah, it's hard maneuver. But in general, here this is very basic concept: left, right, and center, and also reserves. And basically, you cannot let any of those elements to collapse. I'm wondering how it works when the center breaks. How that's gonna affect the flanks? That's quite interesting. Okay, so this is another picture screenshot from the game. Some basic information. Of course, we have Russia against Sweden, Battle of Kopole. I'm wondering which year it is, but we have artillery. So yeah, plenty of numbers. It's hard to say anything else. I mean, we can notice that the right flank of, I assume, Sweden. Yeah, Russia is probably green. I have no idea how to discern them by those colors. Okay, Sweden is defender. Okay, so now we see it. Okay, defender is down below. Sweden is down below, and attacker is on the top. So yeah, that's the Swedish right flank without any troops. There are some reserves coming to the front line, and well, I don't know how it works then. I mean, they will just enter the battle, but I believe that their statistics might be decreased because they are late. Who knows? Um, yeah, okay. Here we have some different bonuses. That's it, and casualties on both sides. Yeah, we see that Swedes are basically losing that fight. All right, so let's continue. You can be as precise as you want and set up your troops on the flanks or the center, depending on your plan, or you can set up an even distribution of your troops across the battlefield. Now, the question is basically whether it makes sense to support either left or right flank, make one of them stronger than the other because we want to achieve the breakthrough on the flank. Actually, it makes sense. You just keep center and, let's say, the right flank good enough in general, and you try to support the left flank as much as possible so you can achieve breakthrough on that side. Of course, you don't know what's the disposition of the enemy. So it's hard to predict that, of course, but it's quite interesting either way. Yeah. So basically, this is the same screenshot as we had before, but this time we have instead of levies we have halberdiers, supply convoy, lancers, and again lancers. So that's the standing army, and this is probably late 15th century, or maybe early 16th. Let's see, mid-game army composition of an army of 38 regiments. Every regiment is assigned a front with reserves and logistical support sitting in the back. Yeah, this is also, I assume, crucial to have supplies on the battlefield. So that's another interesting part about it. All right. Okay, keep going. The choice of your general is crucial in determining the quality of your army. Your general is usually a member of your court, and all his stats are important in warfare. The administrative skill boosts siege ability, helps troops get into fight faster, and the logistic distance. The diplomatic skill boosts the army morale, initiative, and the unit food consumption. The military skill boosts the army movement speed, the discipline, and the combat speed of the army. This is very nice that actually all three general statistics matter. So even if your general is not great in military skills, he can be still quite good on the battlefield because he may have high administrative and diplomatic skills. So even despite the fact the movement speed, the discipline, and the combat speed are not the highest, both initiative, logistics, and food consumption are higher than average, and that can actually decide what will happen in the battle. Of course, assume that the diplomatic skill boosts the army morale, initiative, and the unit food consumption. Unit food consumption. So this is not during the battle itself. It's more on the strategic map when you move through provinces, through locations. So that's more important. But yeah, I mean this is cool. So you are not going to select your general only based on single factor, which is very nice. So here we have, for example, Giovanni's abilities as general. How are you called, buddy? Giovanni Visconti. And yeah, we can see administrative ability is 79, so he has logistic distance plus 79%, siege ability plus almost 8%, possible frontage increased, correct section chance. I have no idea what it means. Correct section chance. Who knows? Diplomatic ability, army morale, army initiative, unit food consumption, and military ability, army movement speed, discipline, and combat speed. Yeah, looks like, at least for me, well, they are quite nicely balanced because in each of those sections we have something quite crucial, like, for example, in military ability we have discipline, in diplomatic ability we have morale, and in administrative ability we have possible frontage. Okay, cool. Administrative, diplomatic, and military ability of a character all play a role in the general's capabilities in war. Absolutely. But to choose the right general for each situation, we'll have to plan things ahead of time, as changing commanders takes time. Alright, so it's not like you just swap your generals, assign one, get rid of the other one. It doesn't work like that, right? It's quite intriguing. So isn't that the first time then in Paradox games that that's gonna take some time to replace your commanders? Very interesting. Okay, the next topic is army composition. The army is separated into 4 categories: infantry, cavalry, artillery, and auxiliaries. So basically, auxiliaries are something new. Each of these groups has upsides and downsides battle. The modern era is one of transition. During the late medieval era, the early stage of the game, heavy cavalry is one of the strongest units you can field and can be decisive in a battle. But as the game advances, the warfare will slowly transition to more infantry-oriented armies, with artillery support and cavalry dedicated to precise and powerful shock. Within each of these groups, there are regional, cultural, and technological variants, from English longbowmen, Ottoman janissaries, to Polish winged hussars, or as we call them, husaria. Yeah, this is interesting. That I mean, everything is interesting. You've already noticed. The fact that there is a switch in unit types. So infantry becomes more effective, or maybe more cost effective, more popular than the cavalry. Of course, I mean, still in 18th or 19th century, even cavalry played crucial role. So um, of course, you didn't have shock cavalry at some point. Like, I mean, heavy cavalry like the French one from late medieval. Cavalry was a little bit more lightweight, because the idea of cavalry switched to being a flanking force instead of a mm, breaking force. So I think now, I mean, with the time advances forward, I mean, time cannot advance backwards, of course. So yeah, when the time progresses in military, of course, artillery became the king of the battlefield. 70% of casualties inflicted by the artillery. That was probably the average throughout the history. And that switch from cavalry, which dealt immense damage during battles, it switched to artillery, and cavalry changed its task to being more of a maneuver force. So it's something similar like tanks. So they are quick. They are supposed to break through through the enemies, try to flank them, be as fast as possible at certain objectives, and achieve some type of a shock for the enemy. But they are not supposed to crush the enemy. Like, I mean, tanks or the cavalry are not the meat grinders. They are supposed to be a maneuver force, be quick as possible at doing their tasks. So yeah, that switch is interesting. I'm wondering how that's gonna play out, because of course Poland has those winged hussars, which are shock cavalry, late shock cavalry. I mean, um, 17th century still they were used. So it's interesting because Poland may have them. What about other countries? So maybe other countries will not have such cavalry type, or type of cavalry, and they will try to counter it with other measures. I don't know, but yeah, that's interesting for sure. So what we have here, we have longbowman tab. This is the regiment size, so it's 1,000 men. Of course, this is infantry. Some basic statistics, battle statistics. Then we have logistics, monthly maintenance, requirements for construction, and the short description. The longbowmen excel not only due to their powerful warbow, but also their years of training on the archery field. Yeah, that's basically. I mean, the idea behind the longbow was more of a cultural change than the type of the weapon itself. So mostly every man, or I mean, or selected man, in the village, town, city, whatever, was supposed to train in longbow from the early ages. So um, this is somewhat similar to American Minutemen, I believe. Um, they were supposed to train with firearms, with muskets, and they just became proficient in that, and they were serious and lethal force, and that's something what Americans still do. They train with firearms a lot, and they want to be proficient in that. So yeah, longbowman is just the precursor of the nowadays American Minuteman, or any other country which excels in firearms training. But yeah, let's be honest, Americans are the best. So okay. So that's it. We have short description. The English longbowmen, a unique levy only available to England. These levies have incredibly high initiative, allowing them to enter the battlefield very quickly compared to other levies, and that might be a crucial thing while fighting, for example, France or Scotland, or Wales, or Ireland, whatever. The size of regiments will also vary throughout the game, when the early version of your regiments will usually field around 100 men. With later tech... 100? It's actually 1,000. Okay, whatever. With later tech and reforms, some regiments can go up to 3,000 men, drastically upping the size of warfare. Absolutely. Well, with mass conscription, these numbers were absolutely huge. There is another type of unit, hunters. Also, we have some. I don't know. That indicates the age. When that like age of Renaissance or age of Discovery, when that unit is available. Possibly. So we have, for example, hunters, which use firearms. So this is, I assume, 17th century, 18th century. It depends. I mean, it looks more like a musket than arquebusier, so probably 18th century. Yeah, regiment size, again, basic statistics. It looks like there is a few more compared with longbowmen. Yeah, absolutely. We have some additional statistics, which is nice. And of course, description. Hunters are light infantry designed to attack enemy formations from long range as they approach, attempting to disorganize them and make their own firepower much less effective. Okay, so they are basically skirmishers. Hunters are an age of absolutism, a unit unlocked by the Siege Artillery Institution, requiring 1,600 manpower for one regiment. But to accompany so many men, you will have to rely on auxiliaries regiments, which is your army support structure. For example, early in the game, the camp follower unit will increase your army food storage, allowing your troops to go deeper into enemy territories without a direct supply line. That's another interesting concept. So you have supply lines, and you can actually, while defending, you can let enemies enter your territory and try to cut off supply lines. So even if you know that your army is weaker and you will not you will not win the open battle, you can try to outmaneuver them and cut off their supplies. If that happens, there is a chance you will just starve them to death. And this is huge, because now if you decide to attack, for example, Russia, which is a massive country, and you know that the Russians' armies are weaker than yours, and you will try to pursue them or attack their capital, and somehow AI will figure out, okay, so I'll let them in, but I will cut them off from supplies, and let's wait for winter, and that's over for you. It was over for Napoleon. It was over for Wehrmacht. So this is quite obvious. Okay, camp followers. Yeah, we can see this is for the first available unit, basically. Again, some battle statistics, logistics, monthly maintenance, blah, blah, blah. A motley crew of merchants and families of the soldiery, camp followers provide informal services to warbands on the march. Camp followers are vital to supplying an army in enemy territory. This is cool. Again, we are not only focused on pure numbers of your infantry, cavalry, and artillery, but also you need to think about logistics and auxiliary units. Very, very nice. Okay, so the next part is logistic and food. How much is left? Okay, we are almost at the end. So let's continue with logistic and food. In an effort to create a credible warfare system, moving your armies around will depend on supply lines and access to resources. Armies will carry food, but will ultimately need to gather it from a friendly location. This is represented by a line linking your army to the closest friendly location, but this line can only be stretched so far and can quickly become vulnerable to enemy armies. So I've already described that and provided some example. And well, surprisingly, we have Russia here. Hello. Yeah, Russia is actually a really good example in such scenario. Because in most cases, yeah, well, cutting off supplies might be a bit tough because distances are smaller. In case of Russia, they are huge. In case of China, they are huge again. In general, in Asia, they are pretty massive. And again, we have that beautiful quote: "Amateurs talk tactics, but professionals study logistics." Absolutely, that's true. Once the supply is slow, the army will suffer attrition and heavy losses, sometimes forcing a retreat. Placing supply depots and controlling key provinces will now be the key to an efficient campaign, as planning and strategic decisions will now determine the outcome of most wars. I have defeated the Austrians by simply marching. Yeah, so now it's possible. Actually, this is possible in Europa Universalis 5, which is very nice. Um, question is, yeah. Now the question is how important it really is to control key provinces, like plan ahead your warfare. I assume that most most of the experienced players will just forget about that, and they will find some way to defeat any enemies you can imagine. So, um, or maybe actually the game is really punishing for not planning ahead of time. I don't know. Usually, um, content creators, they don't really get deep into warfare. They just use warfare as a tool to capture as much as possible and just to win the game or go through the game. Uh, but they do not focus on warfare itself. Like, they do not analyze how to win the battle, what's the best approach for it. Of course, if they plan to besiege some fort, then sure they think about it. But in general, they are like more, okay, let's first defeat their army in the open field, and next carpet siege their country if possible. That's it. What's next? You will also have to take into consideration the weather and diseases. The map, the terrain, and natural elements are also your enemies during wartime. Geography in general. Geography forces a lot. This is this was a big problem for many countries. Like, for example, Poland is a great example. Geography of Poland is problematic because most of the Poland is just the open field, really flat, plain terrains, which means that maneuverability is easy, and because of that, it's really hard to defend Poland as a country. You don't have too many places where you can defend, so I probably the easiest place to defend currently in Poland, in nowadays Poland, is uh, Warmian and Mazurian Voivodeship. So this is where East Prussia was located, because that's the most foresty country. You have a lot of lakes here, um, a lot of tributaries and smaller rivers. It's much easier to defend it than, for example, central Poland. So basically, the road to Warsaw is just open, flat terrain, easy peasy to capture Poland right now. So yeah, geography really matters. I mean, you have logistics, which is crucial in warfare, but then you also have geography, and actually, geography forces logistics to work in certain manner. All right. Winter will reduce food production and raise attrition, but can also freeze coastal sea, allowing risky crossings and sometimes stranding fleets. Severe winters can also make some mountain passes impassable. This is awesome. Imagine that you plan as a France war against northern Italy or northern Italian states, and your plan includes attacking through Alps. Why not? Switzerland, Alps. And then you realize that the winter is so severe that you cannot pass it, and your plan is undoable because your main army. Let's assume you have two armies, one attacking through coastal provinces, and the other one attacking through Alps. And now your detachment in Alps cannot cross, and your flank is just inactive. And how you're going to deal with that, because half of your army is standing in the Alps doing nothing. and probably getting attrition. So this is cool. This is cool also because a lot of stuff can happen. I mean, the game won't be repetitive because every time something else can happen. This is cool. This is very cool. Finally, disease can be caught by an army and spread to the location it occupies, adding civilian losses to the military ones. All right. And here we have frozen over what? Frozen over waters can be traversed, but be careful. Your army will face severe attrition on this ties, and once the ice thaws, the army could end up at the bottom of the sea. Yeah, that's dangerous move, definitely. Probably I wouldn't risk it. This is the moment when okay, there is a chance, but what if? If those are levies, this is also not very acceptable. But let's say okay. But well, this is Russia, so who cares? And the last part, no, one more. Battles. Once your army is built, your logistics ready, and your campaign planned, it is time to fight. Once on the battlefield, the battle will open with artillery fire, making hell fall on the poor souls you've sent to die for your dream of grandeur, perfectly reasonable reasons. Yep. After that, the main combat starts. Engaged regiments will fight according to the three positions: left flank, center, and right flank. Each unit will fight until opponents are eliminated or lose morale. Then proceed to attack the closest next regiment. Okay, that's how it looks like. Okay, we can actually open it. Yeah, we have numbers, we have some basic statistics. Again, I hate those those models. I mean, look how they look. I mean, this nah, come on. That kills the immersion. You have beautiful flag here, and then you see that. Who the hell is that? He looks like a moron. Either way. Also, interesting part is that what is it like? It indicates that we are fighting across the river. Is that correct? I mean, it looks like that, right? I'm wondering whether it's the actual representation of the terrain where you fight. Very interesting. Okay, I'm gonna close it. Look to my coming on the first light of the fifth day. At dawn, look to the east. Yeah, that's the quote from Lord of the Rings, of course. The Two Towers. This is a quote made by Gandalf before they march to Helm's Deep. If a regiment retreats, it is replaced by another one in reserve. But the time will come when one side has no more troops to send against the enemy, and it's at this moment that the army morale is hit and can lead to a collapse of one of the flanks or even the center of the army. This situation has a devastating effect on the rest of the army, allowing flanking maneuver and usually making defeat inevitable. Yep, that's how it works. Look at that. There is no enemy flank, which is his right flank, or from the perspective of defenders, this is the left flank. This is only their left flank left. There's no center also, so I assume they are absolutely decimating them. Yeah, if you see casualties, look at that, over 2,000 to 500. This is pretty huge. Okay, cool. Once the left flank crumbles, the center falls, and the losses are terrible. The result of a battle depends on a lot of factors: unit type, technology, numbers, commander skills, army composition, terrain, morale, discipline, and sometimes a little bit of luck. All of these factors are vital to ensure victory in a battle. This is nice. I like that fact that there's a lot of different factors affecting the battle outcome. So it's not like just pure military potential and pure numbers. Like, okay, I have more troops, or my troops are just better, and we are going to win. No, there are more factors which can actually affect the outcome of it. Pretty cool. One more question. I'm wondering whether it's possible that, for example, left and center collapses. What will happen with the right flank? I mean, is that possible? Is that possible that the single flank, or just the center, can survive the enemy attacking from all directions? Is that possible? Just wondering. Maybe in some cases. Who knows? Okay, last but not least is, of course, naval warfare. Naval warfare is not left side and will follow more or less the same rules as land warfare. Pops to man the ships are sailors. It's quite obvious. You will need to build specific buildings to field more ships and have more sailors, and having a standing fleet is necessary to provide food support to each of your armies across your global empire. Fleets will also allow you to blockade cities and cripple your enemy trade, a crucial tool to have in time of war. Very nice. Italy and the Maghreb are two important regions for naval warfare early in the game. But having a strong navy can also help stabilize your proximity and your trade, making it worth having even during peacetime. And that's another cool factor that navy is used not only in the war but also in the peacetime. That adds another flavor to the game, which is very nice. As in land warfare, there is a great variation in sea zones, impacting fleet movement and combat ability. In a time of global discovery and colonization, having a strong navy is paramount to allow you to extend your empire across all the continents. Mastering warfare both on land and sea will require deep understanding of multiple factors: army composition, logistics, combat mechanics, and strategic planning. But once you've mastered those, your enemies will be many, but none will be your equals. If you have not seen it yet, blah blah blah, yeah, you have video here. One more interesting point, this is actually in that video, I believe. Navy can provide support, provisions, I'm sorry, support as well. Provisions to your armies. So it's possible to attack your enemies along the coastline, and even if they cut off your supplies, your direct route of supplies inland, there's still navy which can resupply you, and that adds another flavor, because well, that opens path to many different tactical and operational decisions, because you can risk being cut off from your mainland, from your supply depots on inland, but having strong navy will provide you provisions as long as you want. This is really nice. I mean, Jesus, there's a lot of flavor. Simple as that. Because you can do whatever you want. Like I mean, finally, it's a good representation of real warfare. Because that would be stupid if, for example, you attacking along the coastline, you have a massive fleet with you, and they cannot resupply you because it's not implemented. And it's all about just land supply lines. It wouldn't make any sense. Come on, it's just stupid. But having the strong navy now, that also gives a little bit more incentive to actually create fleets. Because, for example, myself, I was like, well, in most cases, I'm not gonna need fleet because I'm not gonna use them properly, and I would prefer to focus on land warfare instead of naval warfare. I can just lose naval battles and I don't give a shit about them. And now in Europa Universalis 5, this is different, because even if you don't like navies, you will be forced to use them because they are too crucial to not use them. They are too important. They provide too much positives and options for you to wage the war, which is very cool. This is another tool at your toolbox to be used, and I really like that. Okay, wow, this is a very long video, by the way. We have some funny pictures, so some type of memes, and yeah, well, this is very true. So use 4 manpower, go die in a war for me, please. Yeah, that's how it worked for sure. Yeah, I mean, I haven't played Europa Universalis for a long time, but yeah, that's how it works. If you watch anyone on the internet, on YouTube, any content creator, you will see how it works. It's basically, yeah, go fight. If you die, you die. And EU5, that's totally different. Stay safe, my beautiful darling. Yeah, well, obviously. And this is that's how it should be from the very beginning. This is the real representation of how it works. Of course, in case of standing armies, that's gonna be different. you will not care too much about them as well, probably. But in terms of levies, for at least 100 or maybe more years, that's gonna be quite crucial. Okay, so yeah, as it says, that's all for today. I hope you like it. Very long video. I have no idea how long it is, but I assume it's long. So we have two parts, part one, part two. This is part two. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully see you in the next one. I don't know whether I will do any review of the Dev Diaries. Probably not, because, well, military warfare was the most interesting one for me. So we'll wait for Europa Universalis 5, and I want to ask you to watch some other episodes on my channel, whether you like Stellaris, Imperator Rome, or whatever. There's not too many games actually. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully see you in the next one. This time without the quote, but it is what it is. So that's it. Once again, thank you. See you next time. Goodbye. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Sometimes it changes to a different Alt, and I have to hold the left one. Okay, so now that's the correct one. Once again, goodbye.